Good day from Mission Control in Houston and the International Space Station Flight Control Room at the Johnson Space Center. At this hour, an unpiloted Roscosmos Progress 93 cargo craft is closing in for an automated docking to the aft port of the Zvezda Service Module of the International Space Station. Docking is scheduled about 56 minutes from now at 12:27 p.m. Central Time, 1:27 p.m. Eastern Time to complete a 34-orbit, two-day journey from its launch pad at the Baikonur Cosmodrome. The Progress systems are all working to perfection. The Progress is now about 20 kilometers away from the International Space Station, closing at the appropriate rate in this automated approach for its link-up to the aft port of the Zvezda Service Module. At this hour, both Progress and the International Space Station are flying some 260 miles over the South Pacific, about to begin a southwest to northeasterly track, inclined 51.6 degrees to either side of the equator. Here in the Space Station Flight Control Room in Houston, Flight Director Anthony Varia is on console with the Orbit 2 team of flight controllers on this Saturday, watching over the space station systems. We're about 30 minutes away from a final go, no-go for docking and final approach of the Progress for its link-up to the International Space Station. The journey of the Progress to the International Space Station began on Thursday morning Central Time at 10:54 a.m. Central, 8:54 p.m. at the launch site in Baikonur, with the liftoff of the Soyuz 2.1A booster from Pad 6 at Site 31 at Baikonur, allowing the Progress to begin an 8-minute, 49-second journey to its preliminary orbit, at which point the Progress separated from the third or upper stage of the Soyuz booster, deploying its solar arrays and navigational antennas to begin a pre-programmed approach that has resulted in a number of engine firings to incrementally increase the altitude of the Progress to match that of the International Space Station, and now to move into the final stages of the rendezvous that will link up to its that will result in its link up to the aft port of the Zvezda Service Module about 54 minutes from now. Once the Progress docks to Zvezda, there will be a period of relative motion between the two vehicles that will be allowed to dampen out before the forward docking probe on Progress retracts to bring the two docking interfaces between Progress and the International Space Station's Zvezda docking port flush against one another, allowing the hooks to close to form a hard mate between the two vehicles. The cosmonauts on board the International Space Station, the station commander Sergei Ryzhikov and flight engineer Alexei Zubritsky, will be conducting leak checks to ensure that we have an airtight seal between Progress and the station's aft end of the Russian segment of the complex. The actual hatch opening to Progress is not scheduled to get underway until Sunday morning. Progress is carrying 5,546 pounds of food, fuel, and supplies for the Expedition 73 crew. That equates to about 2.8 tons of material for the crew on board, and you see them there. From left to right in the back row is cosmonaut Oleg Platonov, NASA's Johnny Kim, Sergei Ryzhikov, the station commander, Alexei Zubritsky, and on the right is Kimiya Yui of the Japan Aerospace Exploration Agency. In the front row, NASA's Mike Fink and NASA's Zena Cardman, rounding out the 7-person crew on board the orbital outpost. Hearing reports from the Russian ballistics officers that Progress is now just 15 kilometers away from the International Space Station. The Corps' automated rendezvous system has been tested and is in control of the automated approach of Progress to the International Space Station. Again, docking is scheduled at 12:27 p.m. Central Time, 1:27 p.m. Eastern Time. In the unlikely event something would happen that would prevent the Corps' automated rendezvous system to bring in the Progress for its docking to Zvezda, Ryzhikov and
Alexei,
Zabritsky
a
are
gentle
inside the
reminder,
Zvezda
do
Service
not
Module
forget
at a
to hit
control
record.
panel and would
Of
be
course.
called upon to
Give me a
operate a
second.
joystick to a system called the Toru system, the telerobotically operated rendezvous system, a backup system that would be employed to allow Ryzhikov to manually fly in progress for its docking.
16:35:30.
However, at this hour, the
Acquisition
core system is up and
confirmed.
running, solidly providing navigational and data between the Russian segment of the station and the Progress itself to update its range to the Progress vehicle for its approach to the Zvezda docking port and its rate of closure. We will be getting external television views from Progress, the familiar cross-haired engineering camera views that will show our distance from Progress to the station and its rate of closure. Those views should be coming up shortly. The Progress television system is in the process of being activated as we speak. Less than 27 minutes from now, the Progress will arrive in the neighborhood of the space station to begin a fly-around with a fly-around angle of about 15 degrees. That will enable the Progress to precisely align its forward docking probe with the aft port of the Zvezda Service Module. That will come at a distance of about 400 meters between Progress and the station. There will be a very, very brief period of station keeping to allow the Russian flight controllers at the Russian Mission Control Center outside of Moscow in the town of Korolyov to assess the alignment of Progress to the Zvezda docking port before the final approach of Progress begins to close the final few meters for contact and capture between Progress and the Zvezda Service Module. The arrival of Progress today at the International Space Station kicks off a very busy period of activity for the station crew. There is another cargo launch that's on tap tomorrow evening, this one involving the Northrop Grumman Cygnus cargo craft that is scheduled to launch atop a SpaceX Falcon 9 rocket from the Cape Canaveral Space Force Station's Pad 40. That launch for Sunday evening is scheduled at 5:11 p.m. Central Time, 6:11 p.m. Eastern Time. You'll be able to see all of the coverage of the launch of Cygnus to the International Space Station on Sunday evening. Cygnus will be carrying some 11,000 pounds of cargo in a new expanded XL version, as it is called by Northrop Grumman, extra large if you will, capable of carrying more cargo than before. The Cygnus due to arrive at the International Space Station to be grappled and mechanically installed to the nadir or Earth-facing port of the Unity module on Wednesday morning, September 17th.
Mac and symbol C. I confirm we are receiving the image. And we do see the ISS. Copy.
Cosmonauts on board the station now with a view from the Progress external television camera that's being routed to them on board the station. Just a moment ago, you saw that before we went into a handover between satellites on our tracking and data relay satellite system. We'll get that television view back momentarily to be able to provide you the view from the Progress external camera. Once again, the Progress is carrying 5,546 pounds of food, fuel, and supplies for the Expedition 73 crew. The opening of the hatch to Progress and the start of the unloading of that cargo by Ryzhikov, Zabritsky, and the other Russian cosmonaut on board the station, Oleg Platonov, is scheduled to get underway on Sunday morning. You're looking at a live view from a balcony camera overlooking the expansive International Space Station Flight Control Room at the Russian Mission Control Center in Korolyov on the outskirts of Moscow. The Russian flight controllers are in control of the arrival of Progress. They have been in control of Progress's mission since it separated from the upper stage of the Soyuz booster about 8 minutes and 49 seconds after launch on Thursday morning. They will be responsible for all of the progress monitoring, while the team here in Mission Control in Houston will work in tandem with the Russian flight controllers, relaying information up to the International Space Station crew inside the complex. You see here in this cross-haired engineering television view from the external camera on Progress, in the lower left-hand corner, two values. The upper of the two values shows about 8.8 kilometers separating Progress from the station. The lower value is the rate of closure, currently about 11 meters per second. At the time of contact and capture, that is scheduled about 46 minutes from now, the brakes will be put on, if you will, and Progress will be arriving at a very glacial pace of about 1/10 of a meter per second right before docking is achieved. The Zvezda docking port was vacated back on Tuesday with the departure of the older ISS Progress 91 cargo craft as it completed its 6-month delivery run to the station. Loaded with trash, the Progress undocked automatically from the aft port of Zvezda and a few hours later was deorbited to burn up harmlessly over the Pacific Ocean. The new Progress will occupy that same docking port at Zvezda for the next 6 months. Now approaching a distance of about 8 kilometers between Progress and the station, closing at a rate of just over 10 meters per second.
On Info 1, we confirm.
The Progress has been conducting a series of pre-programmed burns, if you will, minor engine firings using both the main engine on Progress and its thrusters to fine-tune its path to the International Space Station. The series of so-called impulse burns they've all gone off by the book. No issues reported as the Progress steadily makes its way towards its link-up to the aft port of Zvezda and its arrival at the International Complex. The station in Progress currently moving from southwest to northeast up the eastern coast of South America in an orbit inclined 51.6 degrees to either side of the equator, flying at an altitude of some 260 statute miles above the Earth.
We're standing by for 1655. Affirmative.
And there is a view from external cameras on the International Space Station of the Progress vehicle and its automated approach for its docking to the International Space Station. Once again, the station and Progress flying just to the east of Argentina from southwest to northeast on this particular pass of the Earth. We're about 16 minutes away from a final go-no-go for final approach and docking of the Progress to the station. The flight control team here in Houston will coordinate that with the Russian flight controllers in Korolyov before the fly-around gets underway just a couple of minutes after that go-no-go decision is made. On board the International Space Station, aside from the unloading of Progress's cargo by the cosmonauts on board that will begin on Sunday morning, the rest of the crew of the station will be preparing for the arrival of the SS Willie McCool, the Northrop Grumman Cygnus cargo craft that is scheduled to be launched on Sunday evening from the Cape Canaveral Space Force Station in Florida atop a SpaceX Falcon 9 rocket. It will be a 3-day rendezvous for Cygnus to arrive at the International Space Station. Unlike the Progress, the Cygnus needs to be grappled. It will be up to NASA's Johnny Kim and Zena Cardman operating the station's robotic arm from the cupola of the station, the robotic workstation there, to reach out and grab onto the grapple fixture on Cygnus. Then they'll turn over robotic chores to the robotic flight controller here in Mission Control in Houston, who will align Cygnus for its installation and bolt loading or mechanical capture of the Cygnus to the nadir or Earth-facing port of the Unity module of the International Space Station. Progress currently 5.5 kilometers away from the station, closing at a rate of about 8.5 meters per second. The onboard computers continuing to upload information, navigational information through the Core's automated rendezvous system. This is a system that essentially bounces radio beacon signals between the Progress and the Russian segment of the station to update the onboard computers on Progress so it understands how far away from the station it is and what its proper rate of closure is. We're just under 16 minutes away from the scheduled start of the fly-around of Progress. This is a tried and true maneuver that occurs at a distance of about 400 meters between the two vehicles, allowing the Progress to align its forward docking probe with the port of call, which is the docking port at the aft end of the Zvezda Service Module. Zvezda was launched atop a Proton rocket from the Baikonur Cosmodrome in July of 2000. Flight Director Anthony Varia here in the Space Station Flight Control Room advising his flight controllers that we're about 10 minutes out from him going around the room to get a go, no-go for docking. And that, again, will be relayed to his counterparts at the Russian Flight Control Room in Korolyov, who are in control of this final approach. Again, this view now, you can see the station just about right at the crosshairs of this engineering camera view, as Progress is closed almost to 4 kilometers away from the station, closing at the appropriate rate of about 8.5 meters per second.
Range is 4 kilometers. 8.6 meters per second is the range rate for the display. And on the laptop, basically the data do go inside, and we do have acquisition.
That's the voice of the interpreter here in Mission Control in Houston, actually, relaying the information to the Russian cosmonauts on board the International Space Station They are looking at the same view that you're looking at on a monitor inside the Zvezda Service Module. Once again, Sergei Ryzhikov, the station commander, and Alexei Zabritsky are monitoring all of the approach activities of Progress and all of its systems through a control panel, and ready to take over control of the manual flying of Progress should that become necessary in the backup rendezvous system called the Toru system, the telerobotically operated rendezvous system that would come into play in the unlikely event of a problem with the Core's automated rendezvous system. However, Core's is solidly locked on both the active system on the Progress and the passive system on the Russian segment of the station, updating the values to the onboard computers of Progress. Now just about 3 kilometers away, closing at a rate of 8.5 meters per second. That closure rate will dramatically decrease as the Progress approaches the vicinity of the station for its fly around less than 12 minutes from now. The station in Progress currently flying 260 miles just to the east of Rio de Janeiro, soon to cross the equator in an orbit inclined 51.6 degrees to either side of the equator.
Kilometers and range rate is 8.6, the same.
Aboard the International Space Station, the 7 crew members, with the exception of Ryzhikov and Zabritsky, who are otherwise preoccupied with the approach of the Progress right now, they are in the home stretch of their workday aboard the complex, essentially an off-duty day for many of the crew members, as it typically is on a weekend. They'll be moving into a pre-sleep period a few hours from now, and again, assuming a nominal docking for Progress to the station, we'll wind up seeing the cosmonauts opening the hatch to Progress on Sunday morning to begin unloading its cargo. Ten minutes away from the start of the fly around of the Progress.
TV, everything else is unintelligible. Copy.
The Progress main engine is currently firing for about 18.5 seconds in what is called the Impulse 4 burn. At a range of about 2 kilometers away, this once again is another fine-tuning burn to precisely align Progress for the beginning of its fly around to the International Space Station's Zvezda Service Module. And a good burn is reported. This again, another in the series of some 6 impulse burns that are mid-course correction burns, if you think of it that way.
All right, OSK confirmed, and thruster is no longer firing, and we have the ISS back. Copy.
And a good view of the International Space Station from the bird's eye view of the external television camera on Progress,
acquisition,
which is less than 2 kilometers away, closing at a rate of just over 4 meters per second.
We are ready for Toru activation.
And that backup rendezvous system is about to be activated by Ryzhikov and Zabritsky inside the service module as we get a more close-up view of the Progress approaching the vicinity of the International Space Station.
165520, Toru active.
And the backup telerobotically operated rendezvous system now active if required.
You have a go to proceed. All keys are depressed. Activating network power. Power on. PUBPS initial set. C4 central page. Copy. Hand controllers are ready for the test. To the right.
Again, you're hearing the interpreter.
To the left.
For the discussions with the cosmonauts inside the service module as they test that backup rendezvous system should it become necessary to be used. 2 days ago, this vehicle was sitting on top of a 3-stage Soyuz 2.1A booster on the launch pad of the Baikonur Cosmodrome. Now it's closing in for a docking some 30 minutes from now to deliver 2.8 tons of food, fuel, and supplies for the crew members on board the International Space Station.
4 consecutive LEDs are on. Moving to neutral, LEDs are off. Moving on to the translational control. Check. To the right. 4 LEDs are active. LEDs are off. To the left.
Framed against the limb of the Earth, a good view of the Progress 93 cargo ship as it and the International Space Station approach the west coast of Africa.
4 LEDs are on. Neutral LEDs are off.
Coming up on the Impulse 5 burn, the latest in the series of mid-course correction maneuvers that more precisely fine-tune the Progress's path for the start of its fly-around about 5.5 minutes from now.
Commanding PUBPS to initial.
And Impulse 5 underway.
Keys depressed.
This is a 76-second burn, as we now have reduced the distance between Progress and the station to some 900 meters.
Ready for 4.3. Copy. Your go to move on to 4.3. Copy. Activating. I have 4 LEDs. Other gain is on. Indication and screen update are confirmed. Copy. I think we're going to leave it at that. Copy. Terminating работа mode. Copy. LEDs are off. Toru hardware tests are complete. Toru is in hot backup. Moving on to page 22.
And as you hear that communications between the Russian flight controllers and Korolyov and the crew on board the station, the Toru backup system is now active if required. However, the Corps' automated rendezvous system is in control, providing the proper navigational data to the onboard computers on Progress. Now just 600 meters away from the station, closing at a rate of 1.5 meters per second. Less than 3 minutes away from the start of the fly-around by Progress. The Impulse 6 burn has been completed, a 13-second burn. This should be the last mid-course correction before the fly-around gets underway, to be followed by a very brief period of station keeping to allow the Russian flight controllers to assess the alignment of the forward docking probe on Progress with the aft port of the Zvezda Service Module. The station and Progress now crossing the west coast of Africa over Sierra Leone.
Range 500, range 1.5. Copy.
The flight control team here in Houston has given a go for docking. That is being relayed to the Russian flight controllers in Korolyov. Serenely flying over the west coast of Africa. The Progress is just seconds away from beginning its fly around of the International Space Station. And the fly around now underway.
Fly around in progress, range 400, range rate 1.5. Copy.
370 meters separating Progress and Zvezda, closing at a rate of about 1.1 meters per second.
Transmitter active. Sergey, please repeat your last. Transition to backup transmitter. Transmitter is active. Copy.
Everything continuing to go very smoothly with the approach of Progress for its docking to the station some 23 minutes from now.
Your parameter set. Copy.
The fly around of the station continuing, a good view of some of the station's structure. 280 meters separating Progress and the station, closing at a rate now of 0.6 of a meter per second.
range 250, range rate 0.5, continuing. Copy.
The Progress flying over Western Africa. The fly around is continuing. Currently, Progress about 230 meters away from the station, closing at a rate of 0.3 of a meter per second. They will put the brakes on. When I say they, I'm talking about the automatic computers on board Progress. We'll put the brakes on shortly for the start of a very brief period of station keeping, allowing the Russian flight controllers at the Russian Mission Control Center to assess the alignment of Progress with the Zvezda Service Module. A good view of the Progress resupply craft, Progress 93, soon to arrive at the station for the delivery of 2.8 tons of food, fuel, and supplies for the Expedition 73 crew. A fly around almost complete. The fly around almost completely automated since the Progress arrived on orbit some 8 minutes and 49 seconds after its launch from the Baikonur Cosmodrome on Thursday. All of the pre-programmed maneuvers loaded on board the Progress's computers, and now currently under the control of the Corps' automated rendezvous system, honing in for a docking to the aft port of the Zvezda Service Module.
Indications of pre-chal flag is on. Copy. Range 200. Range rate 0.09. Range 180 with visual confirmation. Range rate 0.06. Copy.
Progress approaching the point of station keeping. Its rate of closure almost nulled at this point.
Copy.
Progress now just 178 meters away from the Zvezda Service Module. You see the aft docking port of Zvezda almost at the center of the crosshairs in this external television view with the engineering data overlaid.
Symbol C has range 180, range rate inaudible.
And we now have begun a very brief period of station keeping. Two vehicles, the Progress and the International Space Station, flying in formation with 260 miles over the Mediterranean.
You are go to command early final approach, talking at the same time. Putting step 3, decimal 3 in work, commanding BPS initial.
And final approach is now underway.
Got 4 LEDs, key depressed, activating operation.
The Russian flight controllers are very happy with what they're seeing on their data and the alignment of the forward docking probe on the Progress with the aft port of the Zvezda Service Module.
C confirmation, C pre-chal flag, terminating Работа operation mode. Работа is terminated, LEDs are off. Copy. We are seeing range rate increasing. Depot burn complete. Range 160. Range rate increased to 0.8. And have visual confirmation.
Progress now 140 meters away from the station, approaching at a rate of 0.8 of a meter per second. As we move within arm's length of the docking port, that range rate of closure will decrease to about 0.1 of a meter per second.
Docking port visible, range 130. Range rate 0.7. Range rate coming down. Depot burn complete. Range rate 0.67. Copy.
Approaching 100 meters of separation between Progress and the station.
Range 107, range rate decimal 53.
Progress and the station currently flying 260 miles over Bulgaria, moving from southwest to northeast.
We see docking port, do not see target yet. Range 97, range rate decimal 55. Staying on the axis, talking at the same time. 4.5 minutes to eclipse. Copy.
We'll be moving into an orbital sunset about 4.5 minutes from now. 80 meters separating Progress and the station.
Range 80, range rate decimal 36. Copy. $70 meters.
Inside 70 meters now. Once again, after contact and capture, there will be a few seconds to allow the relative motion between the two vehicles to dampen out. At that point, the forward docking probe will begin to retract to bring Progress and the Zvezda docking port flush against one another, the two docking surfaces, and that will trigger the initiation of hooks closing. The Progress hooks will close first, followed by the Zvezda hooks, and a hard mate will be formed between the two vehicles.
Range 60, range rate 0.24. Copy. Less than 2 minutes to eclipse. Copy. Sergey, please repeat auto gain.
As we move into an orbital sunset, a better view of the Zvezda docking port just above the crosshairs.
Of doing it later as we cross into eclipse, but as you
just
say,
under 50 meters separating the two vehicles.
Okay, it's coming on.
Есть готовность ССВП, дальность 47 метров. Скорость 0,18.
System ready, range 46, range rate 0.18.
Slowly making its way towards its final destination, the aft port of the Zvezda Service Module, to which it will remain for the next 6 months, delivering 2.8 tons of food, fuel, and supplies for the Expedition 73 crew.
Range is about 40 meters.
40 meters separating the two vehicles.
Range rate 0.15. Docking port is visible. Target is somewhat visible. Copy.
The International Space Station in Progress, currently flying near the border between southern Russia and Kazakhstan.
Вот вышли на хорошую освещенность. Мишень.
Good lighting, range
Ниже.
inaudible.
Центр мишени. Дальность 36 метров.
Range 36.
Скорость 0,16.
Range rate 0.16. Copy.
"30 meters separating the two vehicles, a very good view of the business end of the Zvezda Service Module, that aft docking port. And right at the center of the crosshairs, you can make out the docking target, to which the Corps' automated rendezvous system has locked onto.
Range is less than 30 by visual estimation. Indication shows active. PPS is initial. Activating работа.
Выдаю отвод по плюс X.
Activating breakout via plus X.
Выдан. 4 горели.
4 LEDs are on. Key depressed. 2 central LEDs are on.
Вошли в тень.
Other gain not required. We are in eclipse.
The rate of closure is right on the money, about 1/10 of a meter per second. Some 20 meters separating Progress and Zvezda.
25. Copy.
Стыковочный выдал. Чист, посторонних предметов.
Docking port is clean, no FOD. Copy.
Мишени совмещены.
Once again, we're in a brief handover between satellites on the Tracking and Data Relay satellite system.
In the lower part of the screen.
Дальность 20, визуальность 17.
Range is 20
Скорость 0,13.
and 17 via visual estimation. Range rate is 15.
Мишень практически в
Copy.
центре.
Target
Крен небольшой, 30 градусов
is
вправо.
in the middle of the screen, little bias a few degrees to the right.
"15 meters now separating the two vehicles. CORS has the docking target in sight, almost right at the crosshairs of this external television view from Progress. Everything has gone very smoothly since the Progress was launched on Thursday morning Central Time from the Baikonur Cosmodrome in Kazakhstan. All of the pre-programmed engine firings to align Progress for its final approach for docking have gone as advertised, and Progress now just a few meters away from linking up to the International Space Station.
Мишень в центре.
Target in the middle.
Кресты совмещены. Крен отсутствует.
Crosshairs combined. No FOD. Range rate steady.
Метр.
1 meter.
1 meter away, standing by for contact and capture.
Мишень затемнена.
Target is shadowed.
Не наблюдая мишень. Ожидаем касания.
Do not see target. Standing by for contact.
Есть касание. Есть
Contact.
And docking is confirmed.
17:27:03.
Capture confirmed at 12:23 p.m. Central Time.
Copy.
Again, docking confirmed at 12:23 p.m. Central Time, 1:23 p.m. Eastern Time, as Progress and the International Space Station flew 260 miles over northeastern Kazakhstan.
Successful docking of the Progress vehicle. And congratulations to you, gentlemen.
And the Progress docking probe is in the process of being retracted. Again, a flawless approach and docking by Progress, link up occurring at 12:23 p.m. Central, 1:23 p.m. Eastern Time.
Процесс стягивания не наблюдаем. Находимся в тени.
Currently not seeing retraction. We are still in eclipse.
The docking probe retraction will bring the two docking surfaces between Progress and Zvezda flush against one another to enable the initiation of the closing of hooks on both sides of the vehicles. This is Mission Control Houston, a view of the Russian Mission Control Center outside of Moscow. Just a few minutes ago, the unpiloted Roscosmos Progress 93 cargo ship pulled into port and the aft port of the Zvezda Service Module for a docking a few minutes ahead of schedule at 12:23 p.m. Central, 1:23 p.m. Eastern Time. We are in the process of getting the two vehicles hooked up into a hard mate. We'll stand by for confirmation that hooks are closed on both sides of the vehicle. The cosmonauts on board the station will conduct a series of leak checks after the hooks are closed to ensure that we have an airtight seal between Progress and Zvezda. The actual opening of the hatch to the Progress to begin the process of unloading the 2.8 tons of cargo will not take place until Sunday morning.
Do we see retraction?
And we now are hearing that the hooks are in fact driving. Again, the arrival of Progress today kicks off a busy week with yet another cargo ship, the Northrop Grumman Cygnus cargo vehicle, named the SS Willie McCool, that is standing by for launch on Sunday evening from the Cape Canaveral Space Force Station in Florida. Its arrival planned for Wednesday morning.
Moscow Station, Space to Ground 1 digital. Sergei, wanted to let you know that we do have retraction in progress. Terminate recording at 1740.
Back here in the International Space Station Flight Control Room in Houston at Mission Control, we now have confirmation that the hooks are closed between Progress 93 and the Zvezda Service Module, so we do have a hard mate between Progress and the station, as Progress has completed a textbook arrival at the International Outpost to deliver 2.8 tons of food, fuel, and supplies for the Expedition 73 crew. With that, we will turn our attention now toward the launch on Sunday evening of the next cargo craft on tap to resupply the station, that being the Northrop Grumman Cygnus cargo vehicle that is poised for launch atop a SpaceX Falcon 9 rocket from Pad 40 at the Cape Canaveral Space Force Station in Florida. Our coverage on Sunday of that launch will begin at 4:50 p.m. Central Time on NASA Plus, 5:50 p.m. Eastern. Launch is scheduled at 5:11 p.m. Central, 6:11 p.m. Eastern Time, setting Cygnus on its way for a 3-day rendezvous and an arrival at the station for grapple and installation to the Earth-facing port of the Unity module of the International Space Station on Wednesday morning. So with that, we'll wrap up our coverage of Progress's arrival at the station. It was a flawless launch, a flawless 2-day rendezvous for the Progress, and a on-time, actually a few minutes earlier than on-time arrival for its docking at 12:23 p.m. Central Time, 1:23 p.m. Eastern Time. With that, we'll wrap up our coverage for the day. We wish you a good weekend, and we'll see you back here tomorrow for the launch of Cygnus from the Cape Canaveral Space Force Station in Florida. In the meantime, this is Mission Control Houston.